okay, if you make it 65, you can leave the workforce and we'll send you a check. And it was going to take care of you the rest of your life, which was only going to be a year or two at that point.
There's a problem with that right now, isn't there?
Oh, there's a big problem with that because
we're living longer.
Nobody took into account that medical science would get so good, the fact that we would start taking care of ourselves better, the fact that our work conditions were better. Everything improved around us and in us.
Except?
But Social Security stayed the same.
Ooh. So Social Security has not evolved.
Well, it has. It pays less, and
it pays less, and you get it out more,
and they charge you more.
Exactly.
So yeah, and the Social Security itself was set up for several different reasons, but because times have changed, the Social Security must change, and that's what's happening right now.
It's survival mode. What you doing?
Welcome to another edition of Survival Mode. What you doing? I'm Bert Robinson.
I'm Kevin Beers.
We're back.
And today we are talking about retirement.
What's that?
Retirement is actually when you voluntarily leave the workforce and go on doing something else, basically.
But you know what? That's really not what retirement is.
Okay, what is it?
Well, my opinion is retirement is when you're able to leave your job comfortably, okay, with the amount of money, and it doesn't matter what age you are.
Okay, true. That is true too.
Okay.
You can retire at age 35, provided you have enough money to make it to the end of your life.
There you go.
Right.
It does not matter when. Well, yeah, as long as you have the money to do it.
I know people who have continued to work up until age 80 or so because they were not prepared for it. And then I've had people who have worked up to age 80 only because they wanted to. They had the money. There was no problem with the money.
Exactly.
They just enjoyed working. I'm going to be one of those people. I will always work. I may not work for a salary necessarily. I would love to do volunteer work continuously, but I need to have enough money
to do that.
In order to do that.
Exactly.
Otherwise, then I do have to draw a salary.
Now, we talk about retirement. When do we need to plan for retirement, Kevin?
Well, in my opinion,
we'll take your opinion.
We should be thinking about retirement when we get our very first paycheck.
Hold up. Okay, very first paycheck, that's around, after you graduate, maybe let's use it broad, in your 20s.
Okay.
I'm not thinking about my first paycheck retirement.
No, you're not. And that can be part of the problem. So yesterday, I was having a conversation with a young man. He's 18 years old. So he's approaching that 20-year mark. But apparently he and his friend were having a conversation about how old are you when you are declared old. In his estimation, it was 50.
Excuse me?
Yes, you're old, Bert.
That's what my son says.
Yeah.
That's what my daughter says.
Yeah, I'm a little past 50 at this point. And his friend apparently put it at an even younger age. So that is the mindset of when you're into those early 20s, mid 20s. Retirement isn't even on your mind because that is just reserved for old people, and you're not anywhere close to that. I mean, you only live, let's say you live 20 years of your, or let's say 25. You could live another 25, and you're still not near retirement. As far when we use that, in this country we use the magical age of 65 as retirement. That really comes from Social Security.
Right. And that's changed right now.
Yeah, and that's actually changing. But 65 was that magical number. When Social Security was actually put in place, the average age of a person dying was 63. So only a few people would actually reach the age of 65 and actually collect Social Security. That's the way it was set up because they knew there wasn't going to be that much money there. So they set it at an age where, okay, if you make it 65, you can leave the workforce and we'll send you a check. And it was going to take care of you the rest of your life, which was only going to be a year or two at that point.
There's a problem with that right now, isn't it?
Oh, there's a big problem with that because
we're living longer.
Nobody took into account that medical science would get so good, the fact that we would start taking care of ourselves better, the fact that our work conditions were better. Everything improved around us and in us.
Except?
But Social Security stayed the same.
Ooh. So Social Security has not evolved.
Well, it has. It pays less, and
it pays less, and you get it out more,
and they charge you more.
Exactly.
So yeah, and the Social Security itself was set up for several different reasons, but because times have changed, the Social Security must change, and that's what's happening right now.
And back in the day, every that's what people would count on as their retirement.
Yes.
Okay, and thinking about that, which was not enough, but that's what they believed was going to be enough to get them through.
Yes, and a lot of people should be saving for their retirement, but they don't because they believe that Social Security will take care of them when the time comes. And what we already know is Social Security really only takes care of about 25% of your actual living expenses. It's a very low number at this point.
Not enough. And
so now they're pushing the action, like for myself, to draw what we call full benefits. I need to be 67. Mm-hmm. So my age is already pushed out. For instance, I could get partial retirement at 62. Actually, I think at this point it might be 64. But different people can start drawing. You can draw a smaller amount if you start earlier. And that's actually a good question when we talk about how money works, because that's what this show is all about. In how money works, is it best to start drawing at 62 and take the lower amount? Should you wait till you're 65 and draw a higher amount, which is considered full retirement or full Social Security at this point? Or should you wait to age 70 or 72 where you get an even larger amount? Which one is going to be right for you?
And that's dependent upon what what your financial situation is, because you could start in the lower number of 62 and just keep going with that 62 to get. You can get. It's not the maximum amount, but you'll have a larger amount that you can get. Time is going to be the factor there. Would you agree?
Right. If you start drawing at 62 or you start drawing at 65, if you start at 62, you have 3 years of income that you're going to get. If you start at 65, you get a higher amount, but you lost 3 years.
Exactly.
So when you run the numbers, and this is where we recommend sitting down with a financial professional of some sort to help you figure those kinds of things out. Which one is better for you? I would even, for myself, and this is just my opinion, this is not actual advice, but you might want to take a look at your family history to see how long, it's not a true predictor of how long you'll live, but both sides of my family, longevity is one of our gifts. So I may live well past my 100th birthday. It's very possible, just because I have genetics that point that direction.
Okay.
I may not know where I am, but because that's also in the genetics.
Sometimes you don't know where you are right now.
But those are the kinds of things. So am I better waiting or am I better taking it early?
Right.
And then that will also depend on, have you already saved money up?
And that's another big, big caveat in it, because when are you going to start saving money?
Right.
Okay, and how much are you going to start to? How much do you need to have at age? Let's leave 20 out. Let's leave 20 out, because most people are not thinking about that. They're just getting revved up, ready to go. Okay, getting out of college. Okay, or getting out of high school, going into a vocational job, doing some. We're making money right now. We're making money right now. But even though I'm saying let's skip over them, that's sometimes the best time to start saving.
Right. The best time to start saving for retirement is at the earliest age you can possibly do it.
Right.
Because you only need to save small amounts in the beginning versus if you wait till you're, okay, in my experience, most people don't think about starting to save for retirement until age 50. I think what happens is at age 50, and this was true for me, at age 50, it all of a sudden becomes real. That now, exactly.
Something's going to happen.
Right. It's like, I'm 50. If I'm using that number of 65 as my retirement age, I only got 15 years to get it all together. And like I said, if I live to be 100, that's 35 years I have to have money for. And I'm going to have my Social Security perhaps, but what other income do I have?
And the thing about it is that's what you said, perhaps. Because with the situation,
right.
you hear them talking all the time that my money is, the Social Security funds are going to run out.
That's right.
So it's wild that we don't even think about those things, and that's we don't even know, we're illiterate about how money works, and we don't think about those things or educate. We teach our children certain things, but there's certain things that we don't. My mother didn't teach me about how money works. My dad didn't. A professor in college. He still, this is what you need to do. You need to go get a job and save money. That was basically it.
Right. And what they
Disclaimer, Dad, I appreciate you doing what you did.
and I was taught too, save money. Well, how much? How do I save it? How do I, if you don't know anything about how money works itself, you can save money. Well, is $5 a week enough? Is $5 a month enough? Or do I need to be doing $500 a week? Or am I doing, if I don't know how much to save, I really don't know. I really don't know much of anything.
And then what you save, you talk about we talked earlier in the last show about an emergency fund.
Right.
Okay. We don't think about that.
No.
And when I was young, I didn't think about an emergency fund, but the ideal, let's one of the things that I looked at, the ideal for someone, I read only 39% of Americans have enough cash on hand to cover even $1,000 of an emergency.
I learned that the average savings account in America is a negative number. So I'm thinking even those that actually have an emergency fund,
that's
don't have, if you have an emergency fund at all, anything is better than nothing.
Right.
I mean, I just had to have my wife's car fixed, $2,000. If I hadn't saved that up, I wouldn't have a car right now.
Right.
I mean, how would I pay for it? And then first of all, they're not going to give me the car if I'm not going to pay for it. Mm-hmm. It's going to sit on their lot, and they're going to start charging me storage or whatever. I don't know what the whole deal. I'm just glad that we had the money to pay for it. But and the first thing I look at is, well, that $2,000 takes a lot of money out of my emergency fund. But you know what? I got an emergency fund. It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. I didn't have to use my credit card.
Exactly.
I didn't have to use some kind of credit to pay for it. I was just able to pay for it. I didn't have to worry about getting it fixed.
And that is that type of mindset is what we try to educate our clients on. And having that mindset is you don't have to worry. You're not stressed.
Right.
Even and you might still be living paycheck to paycheck, but you have that emergency fund there that will cover that emergency.
Right. And we always recommend your emergency fund really is only for emergencies. Now, COVID was one of those emergencies.
Exactly.
Someone who has 6 months of an emergency fund, basically when we say 6 months of an emergency fund, that means 6 months of the amount of money you would make on the job. Okay. So let's say I got laid off from my job because of the shutdown. Well, I can get unemployment. Now, I'm not going to count that $600 a week that they threw on top of there, but let's just say it's straight unemployment. And let's say unemployment only covers about 50% of what I was actually making. Well, if I have a 6 month retirement or 6 month emergency fund, that's going to last me 12 months because since the unemployment covers half, my emergency fund only has to cover the other half. So it stretches out to 12 months. I could make it through the full year and I'd be okay. We're talking about an emergency fund. We should be talking about retirement.
I was getting ready to go
Okay.
there. But okay, and how much money should we have for retirement, or how much should we save? You see, the thing about it is, it's the same principle as having that emergency fund. Okay, and what you do with the emergency fund, let's say at age 20, do you know that you would only probably need to, for retirement, save for retirement about $200 a month
That's right.
for, at age 20.
At age 20.
At age 20.
Yes.
But we're not thinking about age 20, okay, because the 20-year-olds, 21, 22, all the way to 30, they're not 29, they're not thinking about that.
That's right.
Okay, but then as you get older at the age of 30, then it's going to jump up to about $350, $375 that you need to save every month for your retirement to get to, let's say, $1 million.
Okay. Yeah. We use $1 million as what you need for retirement because currently that is about what you need.
That's about right.
And that $1 million, that's really strictly for getting by. That's not for world travel and things like that.
Oh, wait a minute. Whoa. I can't travel with that?
No, you're just going to get by.
Okay.
So that's the way all that works. Now, getting by is just fine for a lot of people, but my wife likes to travel, and I kind of assume I'm going with. So
That's a good assumption.
So we're going to probably have more than $1 million.
Right.
But like I said, I didn't start planning until I was about 50. So
Same here.
So I'm having to be very aggressive in that savings plan.
And same here.
And which means I have to go without some things. There's a lot of everybody's situation is different. If I always say, well, I mean, everybody my age says it. If I knew what I knew now, back when I was 20, I would never have to worry about money again, because we didn't worry about it then. We have to worry about it now. If you're worried about it, if you don't want to worry about it now, take care of it back when you're young.
That is so easily said, but more.
But when you're 20, you are not thinking that.
No, you're thinking
all.
about fixing up that car to be okay, because that's what I was. Fixing up that car to have it the way you really wanted, or travel. Because I wanted to travel when I was young. I wanted to go different places and things of that nature, and just wanted to have fun, go out and party. Yeah, I did that.
Yeah. Now, we do find most people in their 30s don't really think about retirement either. Now, some of them maybe they work for a company that offers them a 401k, some kind of retirement plan, and they throw some money at it. But again, when you're looking at your retirement, is the 401k actually a good plan? And if it's a good plan, is it a good plan for you? So there's a lot of factors that work into that. And again, and you're going to hear me say this over and over and over, your best bet is to sit down with some financial professional who can help walk you through those kinds of steps. The clients that I sit with, it isn't that I just am the guru of all things financial. It's I know enough to help guide them. Most people don't need to know everything. They just need guidance.
And you talk about the 401k. People put money in the 401k and have your job put money in the 401k that helps build up that 401k.
Yes.
All right. But here's the thing. Do you know how that money is working for you? Okay.
And you get a report.
And what does that report mean?
Right. There's a lot of things on that report that people don't know what it means.
Because you can be doing aggressive. You could be doing aggressive with a certain part of that 401k or not. Okay, you can do a high risk or low risk, and it's all written in there. But I just give the report, and people just get the report and then look at the balance and see, okay, that's how much I have.
Right. And what happens is if you want to find out more about your 401k, usually you're sent to the HR person or the HR department, depending on the size of the company. And the HR people a lot of them don't know how it works either. So they have a script that they go by. You can go out to government websites to find out how some of these things work, but basically they tell you how they work. They don't tell you whether or not that's going to work for you specifically. I know I worked for a company that they had a plan of some sort. It was a retirement plan. It wasn't specifically a 401k. They could tell you essentially how it worked, but whether or not it was good was another question, because it was actually most of your gains were paid in company stock. And the company, it didn't go belly up, but it didn't do well. So
and that stock that they gave you was not going to do anything for your 401k.
Right, and you also do you also look at risk assessment. So are you comfortable with aggressive, where you can lose a lot? Are you comfortable more with something conservative, which is, okay, the gains are going to be smaller, but they're not necessarily guaranteed, depending on where it is. Which one is better for your risk? Like those that are comfortable with an aggressive plan will put all their money into the aggressive plan, and they could lose everything. Whereas someone who's conservative puts everything into the conservative plan, and they're going to make gains, but they're going to be very small. That might be good for both of those groups. Mm-hmm. But for you specifically, is it better to put your eggs across a bunch of different baskets? And which one of those funds that is in the 401k tends to play out better in the long run? Because apparently there's all these different mutual funds that are out there. No mutual fund has ever outperformed any other mutual fund for an extended length of time. A lot of times this fund is really good because of the market conditions now, but when the market conditions change, that fund kind of becomes obsolete, and there's a new fund that kind of takes its place.
Right.
So who's watching that? Who knows to watch that? There's a lot of pieces in there.
Now, let me interject here, because we're talking about 401ks, but there are other different types of programs that you can get involved with. You can get involved with the IRA or the Roth IRA.
Right.
And the difference is people don't know the difference.
That's right.
People don't know the difference what you can do with the Roth IRA. You can put in, it's changed. You can put in $6,000 a year in the Roth IRA, but it's changed to $7,000 this year. Okay, and wait a minute, I can't put any more in it.
Well, there's a lot of different things you can do,
and that's what we're going to go into. Each one of those different things.
Right. Well, let's look at. Well, first of all, let's talk about IRA itself. That's an individual retirement account. Now, everybody thinks that means mutual funds, stocks, bonds, things like that. An IRA, believe it or not, can contain a lot of different. It can contain property. It doesn't just have to be money. So it can contain a lot of different things. An IRA is really just an umbrella term over some kind of a retirement account. And by retirement account, what I mean is the IRS declares it that the money and assets that go into it cannot be taxed until it's pulled back out of the account. And you cannot pull it out until you're 59 and a half. If you pull it out before that time, there's a 10% penalty that you pay right off the top.
Right off the bat, then.
And then you pay the tax as income.
For the state and federal.
Yes, and depending on what tax bracket you're in, it's possible it can push you into another tax bracket. So there's a lot of factors to look at there. Now, that's an IRA, and so an IRA, basically the money cannot be taxed when you put it in. When you pull it out, along with all your gains, all those things are taxable. Now, a Roth IRA, you can it works just like an IRA, essentially. You put the stuff in, put your property in, put your money in, whatever. Again, cannot touch it until 59 and a half. When you pull it out, your gains and everything now what you put in was already taxed. So you don't have to pay tax on that. But all your gains are non-taxable too. So that's the advantage of the Roth IRA. Now, Roth IRAs are great for a lot of people, but if you make too much money, you can't participate in the Roth IRA. One of the differences in the IRA and the Roth IRA is that the IRA, if you have not pulled out any money for retirement after you reach retirement age, by the time you hit 70 and a half, you get what's called an RMD, which is a required minimum distribution. It's a percentage. You must take that as a withdrawal and pay the tax on it. If you don't, you will be penalized on the amount you should have taken out.
Right.
So they get you on the front end if you take it out too soon. They get you on the back end if you don't take it out soon enough. The Roth IRA, on the other hand, since none of those things are taxable pulling it out, you never actually have to pull it out. There's no requirements for that.
Right. And so and what we're just saying is there's so many different things that we're able to work with or able to do for any particular individual to show them what's best for you. And you have to know what's best for you. You have to educate yourself.
And a lot of people would say, well, probably the Roth IRA is better to go with just because there's a lot less taxes involved. That really depends on your tax situation when you're putting the money in. It might be that you're in a position where being able to deduct that amount of money that you put into the IRA really doesn't benefit you tax-wise on the front end. But it might hurt you on the back end. So maybe the Roth is better because since it's not going to help you tax-wise on the front end, take the advantage on the back end. But if putting it into a regular IRA is really beneficial tax-wise on the front end, that might be the better choice.
And there's so many different variables with that you don't know. Everybody's different. Everybody's individual situation is different. I can't express that even, I'm going to say that a whole bunch. Everybody's situation is different, and somebody has to go over that again and go over it with you. Please have some financial professional go over that with you. That's what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to get you to be able to not just survive, but to thrive, and no matter which age that you're trying to retire, because you've got to do something. If you're 30 years old right now in that age group, don't wait, because if you wait, you're going to pay more. You're going to pay more, and you're really not going to be happy. For Kevin and I, we literally waited till we were about 50, and that was not the smartest thing to do.
That's right.
Okay, it really wasn't. We had to do something, and because we got into this business, we said, then we need to do some things. We need to cut here, we need to cut there, and we put ourselves in a better position, but it was a struggle to get to that, to that point. We don't want you to struggle. Do you want them to struggle?
I don't tend to like anybody struggling.
I don't either. Okay, I don't either.
And there's a lot of other retirement products that we're not going to talk about today. We were hoping to get into them, but we're actually out of time. But what we do plan to do is do several other shows on retirement planning. But we may be looking at different age groups. Like in your 20s, what really should you be doing? What are some good things that you could be doing? At age 30, at age 40, at age 50, we'll work it all the way through. A lot of people are getting ready to retire, but they never actually planned for it. So what are your options at that point? So, we'll
go over it, in more shows in more detail with that.
Right.
But please subscribe. Okay, send us an email, send us comments. We'd love to hear them. We'd love to hear what you think, because we want you to survive. Okay, we want you to survive. Thank you for watching Survival Mode, this edition of Retirement. We've got more to come. Kevin, what are we going to do next week?
We're going to talk about my favorite subject, credit cards.
Credit cards. Okay. Well, there's a lot to talk about credit cards.
Yes, we do.
They're good. Are there good credit cards or are they bad credit cards?
Yes.
That's how you're going to answer it.
Yes.
Well, check us out next week. We'll be talking about credit cards. Thank you for watching Survival Mode. What you doing? We'll see you next week.
It's survival mode. What you doing?